Ethereum has finally woken up. We have seen ETH move around 50% over the last 2 weeks. It's been a crazy couple of weeks, but in today's video, we're going to talk about what is next. How far can Ethereum really go? And what is fueling this move? Is it the institutions? Is it retail? We're going to unpack it all in today's video. If you do enjoy it, do drop a like, do subscribe for more content like this. But let's get into it. So there are two videos that I want to bring your attention to right now on my channel. One of them I released around 1 month ago, one of them around 3 months ago, and they're both around Ethereum. And it was definitely during times where it really wasn't cool to talk about Ethereum, especially if you were bullish. You know, there was so much, bearish, negative talk about how Ethereum was going to zero. And to me, I made it very clear that is quite often a very good bottom signal and a great opportunity to buy. So the first video 1 month ago was, is Ethereum about to explode soon? Prepare now. I even put it in the thumbnail that we are here, and since that we have seen a crazy move, just going absolutely vertical on the chart, which we'll get into shortly. And the second one from 3 months ago is this one here. Will Ethereum actually hit $10,000 in 2025? This was in April. And if you'll remember, in April, Ethereum was way below 2K, going back to them 2017 highs, and it was definitely doom and gloom on the timeline if you're on, social media such as X. So during these videos, a lot of what I focused on was how institutions are picking up Ethereum, how the ETFs are going ahead and are, in full flow. And to me, these are just big signals that Ethereum was quite clearly not going to zero. I don't see the smart money, the whales, getting involved with a coin that is trending to zero. For me, it was just a big shakeout to get retail to capitulate on their Ethereum and rotate elsewhere. And I'd imagine, to a degree, it definitely worked, and now it is finally time to run it back. I mean, this quite frankly gave me the confidence to stay strong with Ethereum and to not capitulate myself. It's the second largest holding in my portfolio behind Bitcoin, and I plan to keep it that way, to be completely honest. Now, there are a few different headlines that I want to take a look at now in today's video, because we want to look at what's fueling the move more specifically. We know that retail are the small fish in the big picture. We know that institutions and whales are running the game, and these articles do align with that quite closely. Now, first of all, we're going to have a look at the upgrade set for November, which is the Fusaka upgrade, which, to be honest, we've seen upgrades in the past, and we hear the same kind of reasons behind them, making the network more efficient and scalable, which of course there is no denying Ethereum needs. Compared to other blockchains, it might not be as fast, it might not be as cheap, and Ethereum definitely needs to keep moving forward in that respect if it wants to keep the #1 spot when it comes to TVL and all of these important metrics. Now, we've seen upgrades before in the past, especially during more bearish times. They've not really made much of an impact, but with this set to go live in November, and where not just Ethereum but the whole crypto market could be in Q4, I think this could be very timely and just add a little bit more fuel to that fire. So that's definitely something to keep in mind over the next few months as we get closer to Q4. But when it comes to Wall Street, the big fish, I mean, this is quite an interesting article here. Ethereum could be worth 15K medium term, 4K target in the short term. Of course, we're very close to 4K now. This was published just a couple of days back, so it wasn't the most bold short term prediction that I've ever seen, to be completely honest. But what's more important in this article is how Ethereum is the preferred choice for Wall Street. So I think a lot of people would have assumed it with the status that it has, the longevity, if you go on DeFi Llama and look at the metrics, the TVL, the DeFi protocols being built on Ethereum, regardless of the silly fees at times and that kind of stuff. I do believe that it is still quite firmly the #1 blockchain in many respects. So that was kind of what caught my mind. Ethereum is quite clearly the favorite for Wall Street. And then just 20 hours ago, we get this article about Ether Machine, which is backed by crypto giants set to raise over $1.6 billion in a NASDAQ debut. Now, if we actually read into it, we look at this here, the combined entity to be named the Ether machine aims to launch with more than 400,000 Ether on its balance sheet, positioning it as the largest public vehicle for institutional exposure to the world's second largest cryptocurrency. Now, it isn't the exact same as Sailor and MicroStrategy and Bitcoin, but it definitely gives me that vibe that, there'll be companies and people and investors quite clearly out there who are thinking, okay, like we've seen the success, especially the more recent success with Bitcoin's new all-time highs that Sailor has been having with what he's done with MicroStrategy and just buying and buying relentlessly. Even aping in at all-time highs in the past, and it pays off, eventually in the long term. And other people, entities, companies, investors will be looking at that thinking, how can we do something similar? How can we replicate this? And of course, the number 2 cryptocurrency out there is Ethereum, and this seems to be the way that these guys behind Ether Machine are looking to move forward. But I mean, with 400,000 Ether on the balance sheet, that's got to be bullish for everyone involved, everyone invested in Ethereum. And then the last article we're going to look at is the Ethereum staking ETF tensions rising with BlackRock's late filing. Now, it's one of them where maybe during bearish times again, this would have just been so negative and terrible news, and price goes down based on an article like this. But right now, we can see that price has not really been affected. This was published 2 days ago. Ethereum just kept going. No real pullback of significance. We're seeing that today, but this is 2 days ago. And, there'll be some of the smaller ETF filings that, let's just keep moving forward. We don't want to wait for BlackRock, but, let's be honest, BlackRock, they're very much in control, and what they say goes in a lot of respects. So, but the point here, regardless of it, is, number one, it's going to come at some point anyway. So it doesn't really matter too much. And just to make it very clear, this is a ETF around including staking as well. So number one is that it's going to come at some point. We don't have to worry too much about that. But number two is how we can see it as bullish because it didn't have a negative impact immediately on the Ethereum price, which is definitely a breath of fresh air. All right, so 2 charts that I want to pay attention to. First of all is Ethereum versus USD on the daily time frame. And there are a few key levels that I want to point out here. So first of all, like we mentioned in the intro, crazy move, almost 50% over the last couple of weeks with no real pullbacks, no opportunity for people to buy the dip, which is often what we see during bullish times, because if you are sidelined, you deserve to be so. So a lot of people probably were hoping for a clean retest of 2.7k, maybe this breakout area here of 2.5k, and of course, the higher we go, the less likely it is that we will see such a pullback. Now, people may be looking at more kind of intraday levels, maybe at 3.4k, maybe 3.3k here, or even if they want to be bold, 3.1k, coming all the way back down to this level. And one thing for sure with crypto is that it is not impossible. We have seen crazier things happen, that is for sure. But now it's about really putting your mind into perspective of, am I a long-term investor? Do I want Ethereum exposure here? What is the real potential upside, which we'll get into shortly, for the rest of this year and even into 2026? Or am I just looking to play some quick trades? Because right now, this for me, at this level here at around $3,650, is quite a clean retest. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's it, kind of like dip over and we make that move up to 4K. Now, when we talk about 4K and beyond, I'm pretty sure it's going to be happening in the next couple of months, next couple of weeks, maybe days, who knows. But this is definitely, without doubt, a very important level of resistance. And the reason for it is because we can see here, we've got highs of December 2024, we've got highs here of May 2024, and we've got highs here of March 2024. So these, in fact, this is the 2024 high. This is this kind of bull cycle's high, and it is definitely a key level that needs to be flipped. Now, for me, it's one of them, when we do get above it and we flip it, whether we get this retest or not is another question. But when we are above 4K, for me, that kind of like says, okay, it's showtime. This could be the last leg. This could be, and I'm not saying it's a small leg, there'll be pullbacks, smaller dips along the way. I'm just saying, we're not going to see like 6 months of down like we have recently. And during last year, when it went from like March to, you know, the election time, when it was just kind of, not just for Ethereum again, but for crypto, it wasn't great. So I think there'll be smaller dips along the way, of course, but that for me is like, it's showtime. Let's make the move up. Let's move into price discovery, eventually above 5K, and really get the ball moving. But incredible strength over the last couple of weeks. There's no denying that. The other chart is the Ethereum BTC, and I'm going to move this on to the weekly. It's something that we've talked about in a couple of videos recently, and you know, it's been a train wreck for years, right? We've just seen this horrible down move for, you know, almost 3 years really, of just down and down and down, whilst Bitcoin dominance and Bitcoin price just continue to thrive. But for me, this could finally be the turning point we've been waiting for. We're always looking at market structure, especially on higher time frames, and we want to see higher highs and higher lows so we can start to build up momentum and move towards key levels. So this is the level we really wanted to flip. We haven't just broke through it, we've just completely crushed it. Like, that is what you want to see. Whether we pull back now, whether it be, I don't know, maybe this high here, whether it be back into this level, whether it be here, you know, somewhere in this area, it doesn't matter too much. The key that we are looking for is a higher low to follow this up, and then we can follow that up again with a higher high, higher low, and just keep the momentum going as we've kind of illustrated here. So this is really key because, you know, you want to see Ethereum outperforming Bitcoin. It doesn't just set the stage for Ethereum versus USD, it sets the stage for altcoins as well, as we've discussed in the past. Now, of course, this is a major level that we want to move up towards. It'd be a huge move, moving back towards around 0.05. And will it go higher than that? For me right now, it doesn't matter too much. Let's just get to this level. Let's let Ethereum thrive, let altcoins thrive, and we'll reassess other things as well once we get there, such as total market cap, total 2, and other key charts when looking at kind of the overall cycle, the bull market, and where we can expect to take profits. And finally, the $1 million question of how far can Ethereum truly go over the next, say, 6 to 12 months, this bull cycle. Now, I've seen many targets out there, some of them really, really crazy, like over 100K. And for me, that is just not even on the cards. You know, we're going to look at market cap in a moment, but for me, being realistic, I do think, and I've said it before in these previous videos, like anything around 7.5 to 10K is a good kind of realistic, maybe even conservative bull target. You know, we're talking about the second largest cryptocurrency here. We're talking about a huge market cap, and these coins are no longer the 50, 100x gems that many people are looking for. You've got to go down to lower market cap altcoins for those kinds of returns. Ethereum is definitely a safer play, a blue chip play, and if you're getting 2, 3, 5x, you know, if you bought at 1.5K a couple of months back, you're in a great position there to ride some upside. You know, 5x to 7.5K, that's a pretty good return for the second largest cryptocurrency out there. So it's just important to keep things in perspective. Anything over 10K is just a bonus for me. I think that'd just be, you know, an incredible performance. But aside from the price, you know, we're going to talk about the market cap now, and this is quite interesting. As we know, gold, when it comes to top assets by market cap in all industries, all sectors, gold is number one with that market cap of 22.8 trillion, huge. There's often talks, of course, of Bitcoin. Can it flip it? Can it finally get to number one? You know, and that is great. That is what we all want to see one day for Bitcoin. But when it comes to Ethereum, you got to go a little bit further down the list, but not too far. You know, it's not terrible. Especially after the recent run, Ethereum has climbed to number 25, jumping over the likes of Costco and Platinum and, you know, some other big names and companies that you'll recognize, Samsung, for example. So Ethereum's made some pretty good moves over these last couple of weeks when it comes to market cap as well. Now, how high can Ethereum go in line with those price targets that we just mentioned? So if it was to roughly 2x from here, maybe 3x, you know, the 2x is going to take you up to a top 15 spot, probably above JP Morgan Chase, but just below Berkshire Hathaway, and then you know, you're kind of in the big league there. You're looking at Berkshire, you're looking at Tesla, and then you're moving into the top 10. Now, to jump into that top 10, it's going to require like a what, like a 4 or 5x to really cement its place and start fighting with the likes of Meta, which for me over the next 6 months is probably just a little bit too much of an ask. So I do think over the next 6 months, top 15 is achievable. Like I said, that kind of 2x target, and you know, doing that, you're jumping over some big names again. You know, Walmart, Visa, Oracle, Netflix, MasterCard are all just above Ethereum at this point. So I think the point of this, number one, it's just fun to look at where Ethereum can really get, but it just puts it into perspective of market caps. Because I think a lot of people, you know, especially with other coins such as Ripple, they're looking at unit price. They see Ripple as cheap because it is, you know, a couple of dollars, but it's about market cap. That is the big one. You know, you've got to look at supply, you've got to look at market cap, and that's really what's going to paint a true picture for you. So that pretty much wraps up the video. As you can probably tell, I am bullish on Ethereum, but I'm not just jumping on the bandwagon now because it's flying. You know, you look back at them previous videos, I have been an Ethereum holder for a very long time, and I've always kept the faith when others capitulated because I looked at the bigger picture. I looked at what institutions are doing. I was looking at the ETFs, the inflows, and just really considering the fact that Ethereum is just quite frankly not going to zero. It's at this point, dare I say it, too big to fail, but now it is starting to thrive as many people expected. You know, maybe not every retail participant, but many people did expect Ethereum to eventually have its day, and that was me as well. But yeah, if you did enjoy the video, please do drop a like, comment down below and let me know how you think Ethereum is going to do over these next 6 to 12 months or so. And also don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this.